What a time it is to be a Chelsea fan, guys. We are champions of Europe, kind of, with the UEFA Conference League trophy against Real Betis. We got into the top four, which means we have Champions League affirmed. We're good to go. And we all know why that's such a huge deal, right? That means transfers. That means we have hope to get all these players that we've been hoping for. I'm not going to clickbait you out here and say, we're getting Osimhen, he's going to Saudi Arabia. But fill in the blank with all these other players that we're interested in. Jamie Gittins, Liam Delap, who's already here. Mike Maignan, who is maybe the one I'm most excited for. Mark Gehi, all these different players. Fill in the blank with many more, right? Possibly Hugo Ekitike, all these different players. The end of this season, which was so brilliant, is why these things are actually possible. We can actually offer players Champions League instead of Conference League. We can offer players the opportunity to compete for not just top four, but our hopes should be next year to compete for Premier League, right? That should be our hope. But without further ado, I have a few things I'm excited to tell you guys about. So we're continuing this summer series of videos, which are different than what we did the rest of the season, where we were doing our previews and sims of games and all that good stuff on FC25. And instead, we're doing a lot of stuff related to the squad from last season and eventually the squad that we're moving into next season with. So the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be out of town some on trips with family, with my wife, different things like that. So I'm not going to be able to record match previews and reactions probably to Club World Cup games. I will for sure post some like text posts onto YouTube as well and hope to interact with some of you guys there. But what I'm excited for is the next couple weeks, what I'm going to do is basically a squad review from the 24-25 season. And what I mean by that is I'm going to put up everybody in a tier list, which I already have cooked up for us. We're going to work through it together, and we're going to basically rate every player's season on a scale, and I have 5 different categories for that. And we're going to do that in 3 parts. So the first part, which is this video right now, is going to be covering goalkeepers and defenders. And at the end of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a shout for if we need a signing in that area, who would I prefer? Not necessarily what are we getting, what would I prefer? And then second video is going to be midfielders. And the third and final video, which will be kind of till the mid of June, will be regarding our forwards. So I'm really excited to do this. We're going to look at who deserves praise, who deserves maybe some critique, and we're going to move through that together. So without any more wasting of your guys' time, let's go ahead and hop over to Tier Maker, who I'm using to make our little list right here. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, guys, so yeah, if you see here, I'll walk us through the categories in just a second, but the funny thing is, you're going to see some players who you might be like, wait, who is that guy? Is that Lukaku? Is that David Datro Fofana? This was probably a list made at the beginning of the season. Obviously, many of these players didn't even touch the field for us, and that is why I have a category fitting for those people. So I'll walk you through the categories here. First off, we got POTS, and what that means is player of the season, if you didn't track with that. I'm only going to likely put in 2, maybe 3 players there, and then we're going to whittle that down to 1. And what I mean by that is that's one player that I think deserves to be recognized as the best player for Chelsea this season, player of the season. So that's the best of the best. Next is solid. That's somebody I'm not at all worried about. It's somebody that I probably don't think should be shopped out to other clubs at all. They had a very solid, very promising, very good season. The next is okay. Okay is basically another, it's another categories for average, like is passable. Could be better, could be worse. And because of that, you're probably going to get some players there that'd be okay selling. Some of them I wouldn't want to sell, and I'll differentiate that. Then next is bad. That's pretty much explains itself. There will be probably a good handful of players in the bad category. Those are players that I don't think lived up to their potential or lived up to even anything maybe near their potential. And those are players I'd definitely be okay leaving. And then lastly, NA. That's basically what I'm just putting for players that either didn't play here or were injured or different things like that and don't deserve, or maybe it wouldn't be fair to give them a rating. So without any more time, let's go ahead and hop straight in. We're going to start the goalkeepers. So we don't need to talk about Kepa. He actually had a pretty good season for Bournemouth on loan, and he'd probably be an okay or solid for them. Honestly, I think hopefully they'll buy him from us for 5 million quid. I don't really know. I hope if anybody here is watching that is British, I hope you enjoyed that I used the word quid there. Explain to me, is quid, that's just a word for pounds, I think. Anyway, so yeah, he's NA. Same with Lucas Bergstrom. He is on our squad, but I could be wrong. I don't think he had any appearances for us in any competitions this year. I think he did last season, but I don't think this year. So NA as well. And then I'm going to do the last one for that as well. Georgi Petrovic as well, of course, was on loan to Strasbourg. I think he would be solid if I was reviewing Strasbourg, possibly even player of the season. But obviously he didn't play for Chelsea, so he's not going to be in there for there. Our two goalies. I'm not going to be super positive here, and I think that's for a decent reason, right? Neither of them were brilliant. Both of them, I would say, at least one of them was bad, and one of them was maybe okay. So let's start with Rob Sanchez. Our boy Bob. I have a hard time with the guy because I've been hearing some different content creators talk about him recently, and they were talking about, in the last stretch of games, he was pretty solid. He actually had some point-saving games, and I totally agree with that. I think he was, honestly, you have to be unbiased if you can. I think he was fairly solid for the last maybe month of the season. You have to take into account the whole season, though, if I'm right. And with the whole season in mind, he was tied for errors leading to goals with, I think it was 5 in the entire Premier League. And this is from a team that still ended top 4. And many of those goals were important, pivotal goals. So I don't see a world where I can't keep him in the bad category. And I know some people argue like, oh, you're complaining about this guy, Rob Sanchez, when he had one of the best, I think he had one of the best save percentages in the Premier League. It's crazy to realize. But the errors, the constant feeling that you had as a viewer that every game he was going to do something that at least was going to create an opportunity undeserved for the opposition to score, I can't put him anywhere except bad. And if you guys have been watching me for any extended period of time, you know I am not a big Philip Jorgensen guy at all. Nothing against him. I don't think he was at all an upgrade to Petrovic, who we already had on the books. And then we spent, leave your comment down below if you remember how much we spent on him. But I think we spent more on him than we're willing to pay for Mike Maignan, which I think is hilarious. But anyway, I do think he's been slightly better than Sanchez, and because he's 4 or 5 years younger than him, still somewhat of a prospect, first year in the Premier League, I'm gonna pop him into okay, but he is definitely one that still verges towards bad for me. And the reason for that, guys, is I'm not trying to be overcritical, but just he didn't prove to me that much that he was that much better than Rob Sanchez. He had a little bit less mistakes, which is why I think he's a little better than Sanchez. So those are our keepers. 3 of them, of course, are not going to get a grade because they weren't here. Kepa, Bournemouth, Bergstrom on the books, but on the bench as well. And then lastly, Petrovic with an outstanding season, but away from home. Rob Sanchez, bad. And Jorgensen, okay. So let's move into our defenders. So if you're following here, it's going to stop right after. All the way to Bashir Humphreys. So let's go through this. So Axel Disasi, he's an interesting player, right? Interesting player. This is probably going to be a long conversation. Bad. I don't like him. Not the guy as a player. I think he's really not up to the quality of Chelsea Football Club. And when we play him on the right as a right back, that gave me an absolute conniption fit. Every time it was like a heart attack waiting to happen. You saw what happened to Aston Villa. They basically lost Champions League because he got cooked up by Jeremy Doku coming up the left wing. I don't think he's up to the quality. He's mid-table quality, or send him to another league. That's my opinion. So bad from him. And then polar opposites. You couldn't make it any more opposite here. Mark Cucurella. He absolutely goes into player of the season candidate for me. Every game you knew what you were going to get from him. I'm not saying he was perfect every game, but he's such a lockdown defender. He locks down Bukayo Saka. He locks down Mohamed Salah, who's going to probably go on the Mount Rushmore of Premier League players eventually. He is such a great 1v1 defender. Not to mention, he became our best striker in the second half of the season. Guys, this is a crazy stat, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, as always. I saw a stat saying he was tied for the most goals as a defender in the Premier League this year. He was tied with Josko Gvardiol. That's unbelievable. Player of the season material for me, absolutely. Probably going to be one of my next jerseys I get as well. Next, Benoit Badiashile. He's a tricky one for me, guys. I feel like I don't remember watching that much because he was injured for a while. He was out of the squad. He wasn't really ever favored by Maresca. He's got to be at most obviously okay. Maybe bad. Also maybe NA for me. So I feel like more need to be in this okay to bad category if we're talking about averages. So I'm gonna put him in bad for now because there's nothing particularly amazing he did for me. Next, Trevoh Chalobah. He only played I think 13 times in the Prem for Chelsea. I love him. I'm biased. I have no reason to say I'm not. I'm putting him in okay. I think you can't really put him up in solid because he only played, basically a third of a season for us. But I think he's a player that's so underappreciated at Chelsea every year. The poor guy gets put on the transfer list every single summer, and we always take him back because we realize, we shouldn't have gotten rid of him. And we're talking about needing like cover and center back position. He's still only 25. I think it's absurd. Anyway, I think he's okay. And remember, okay is like good enough. And he would probably be pushing solid for me if he was here the whole season. Next, Chilwell obviously goes into not applicable for us. I don't even know what NA stands for. Does it stand for not available, not applicable, non-actionable? I have no idea. No idea. You guys let me know. Thankfully, he got a move to Crystal Palace end this season. I'm hoping he gets a good move to a solid club this year. He deserves it. He's good enough for it. He just doesn't fit the system. Next, Reece James. I'm going to pick this up so I don't steal your guys' time away. Reece James, for me, he's solid. And some of you might disagree with that. I know he's on major minute restrictions basically the whole year, but he made it through most of the year and played most of the season for us, which I haven't seen in a while. Even if it wasn't full-time, even it wasn't ever really close to 90 minutes, he's such a reliable player, and he's such an elite player willing to adjust to what a coach wants, and I love that. And he's such a captain. He's turned into such a captain. That's one of the biggest things for me as well. You saw that in the Conference League where supposedly he had this speech in the middle of at the halftime saying, Maresca, don't worry, we're going to win this game. And he went out and the whole vibe shifted. Solid season for me. Same with Colwill. I'm putting him in solid. I would say, would be Reese's solidly in solid. I'd say Levi's bordering more towards okay, but I'm still going to put him solid because he ended, I would say, the last several months great. He was really off and on. I think he's petulant sometimes with his attitude and his emotions, and sometimes he kind of switches off and forgets who he's man-marking in the box, but I think he really turned it on, and I do think he's our center back for the future, so no more discussion. I think solid. Malo Gusto, that's a brutal one for me. Last year, if you guys saw any of this or heard me talk about this, I actually was at the point where I thought we played better with him than Reece James, mainly because Reece James was hurt all the time. Not this year. I hate saying it, but I think he has to go in bad. I just think he doesn't work well in the system. We don't have conventional fullbacks that just stay in their position, go up and down, put in crosses, which is what he thrives at. He needs to be able to invert. He's not good at that. He's really not good at it. So I think he had a bad season. Wesley Fofana. We're coming down to the last three here. I'm worried about him. I'm very worried about him. We're apparently looking at taking options for him in the transfer market if people put up a good amount of money for him. And I get it. I get it, guys, because we spent 70 million on him, and he still has yet to play anything close to a full season. And you can't have that in my opinion. Some other positions, I think you can have a little bit of variation with who's in, who's out, people coming in to fill in. You have to have players consistently in and around your squad, especially at the center back position, and to have that partnership. But either way, I don't know if NA is good. Bad feels unfair because I don't think he's bad when he played. He didn't play much, and that's becoming a problem. I think I'm going to put him... I'm gonna put him in NA because he hasn't played enough for me. Let me check real fast, guys. How many appearances does our guy have? Let's look. Because I'm curious if he deserves to have a rating. Okay, so he has 14 appearances for us this season, which is a little more than Trevo. So if I rated Trevo, I'm going to rate him, and I'm going to rate him okay as well, because I think he played well when he did play. I'm just worried for his future because he doesn't play enough. Okay, last two. Tosin, okay for me, bordering on solid, I would say. I think, especially for free, he's such a good a good locker room guy. He's a leader. He's a little bit older. I think they call him Unk. Uncle Tosin. I think he's solid. I think he slotted in well and was good coverage. And last, Bashir goes in NA. All right, so that's my list. Honestly, I think that's actually a pretty good average that we have this kind of half pyramid going here, because I think that's accurate. I think our defense was not bad, but I don't think we were elite by any means. And we're going to see some more player of the season candidates. I'm actually going to give a little sneak peek later, but that's who I have. So player of the season candidate for me, Mark Cucurella. And then in the solid category, we have Reece James and Levi Colwill. Okay, Jorgensen, Chalaba, Fofana, Tosin. Bad, terrible seasons, Rob Sanchez, Disasi, Benoit Badiashile, Malo Augusto. And NA, we have Kepa, Bergstrom, Petrovic, Chilwell, and Humphreys, because they weren't really participants in our squad this year. So anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up our tier list. So yeah, that's the end of our video for today. That is the end of our tier list part 1 squad review of 24-25 season, looking at goalkeepers and defenders. Overall, I think we were far more solid than we were last year, which is huge. We battened down the hatches. Maresca really brought back Chelsea's identity in that way, I would say. And the main characters in that for me were Mark Cucurella, Reece James, and Levi Colwill. Mark Cucurella, by far our best performer on the defensive side of things. He is, of all the position groups for me, a player of the season candidate. Absolutely. So I want to hear from you guys. Who do you think for Chelsea, specifically as defenders and goalkeepers, is your player of the season candidate? Is it somebody different? Is it the same? Go ahead and leave that in your thoughts down below. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit the like button if you can. It's a big support to me in this young page. And also subscribe, because we try to get stuff out every week. So awesome time looking at this. Let's get ready for part 2 next time. All right. See you later, Blues.